Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Takeup. Today we have episode 58, Defining Good Customers, Designs, and Marketing. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Takeup. I am Eric Campbell, and as you may or may not know, I am an embroidery professional. I have been everything from the person running the machines to a digitizer for many, many years to an e-commerce manager of some stripe for most of the years of my career. And so that's why today I am answering some business questions. Everybody asked me these things in the last couple of weeks, and I had promised about 2 weeks ago that I would come back to this entire concept of good customers, of good designs to some degree. Hopefully we'll do more customers and business today, and a little bit about marketing and what we're looking for when we're marketing to new markets and what we're looking for in general in our marketing. And what I'm going to do today is partially try and get you around a different definition for good. Because I think part of the problem we have is we see the state of a customer, of a design, of a marketing campaign, of a product as being good or bad, and this quality is being defined as if it were intrinsic, as if this goodness is something that doesn't change over time or doesn't have conditions. And the truth of the matter is it does. So as we go through this, we're going to get maybe a little philosophical. I won't necessarily get into, philosophy 101 and what is the good. We're not going to get into any, ancient philosophers today, but we will talk a little bit about what it means for something to be good as far as both our products and our pitches and our designs, what it means to us for them to be good, what it means for our customers for them to be good, and what that entire concept of a good customer is for our machine embroidery, for anything, for our certainly for our apparel decoration, but in general, what's a good customer, what's a good partner, what is a good design, what does it mean to us in our operation? So we'll certainly kind of get into that as we go. Let's go ahead and say hi to the folks who have jumped in already. Frank Dunfman over at the UK. Good evening to Frank. Happy to have you here. Jeff Fuller of Embroidery Nerd, doing awesome stuff with Fully Embroidery Works as well. Here and ready to learn, and I'm here and hopefully ready to teach, guys. Hopefully I've got something to share with you. I am going to let you guys know on a personal note. I got my first shot of the vaccine yesterday, and if I seem to be a little off, I don't always tolerate this stuff very well. I had to do the longer observation period yesterday, and I feel like I got run over by a truck a little bit. I'll say a lot better than being on a ventilator, but so I think it's a good thing to do, but I am going to let you know that certainly if I'm a little down today, if I'm a little bit lower energy than usual, it's because I don't feel awesome. So hopefully probably going to be a little bit of a shorter show, probably not going to go for the big 2-hour marathon, but I will say happy to be heading back toward whatever normal. It's another thing, if you watched me on the half this morning with Aaron Montgomery, the concept of normal got thrown around the same way we're going to throw around the concept of good. And here's hoping that all of you guys can get back to your normal or next normal or new normal as we get going. So let's go ahead and say hi to a few more folks before we get going. Christine, good afternoon, Eric. Last show of the day. Yep, last show of the day. I know Friday for me gets to be a little crazy. Doing 3 shows is a little out there. I will say that I have really enjoyed it, and I have to thank Brian Bailey and the Brilliance crew for letting me run riot and do this stuff. We've been doing a lot of really cool work that I can't wait to share, and luckily the shows will be here for that too. Beth says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Beth. Justa from Sweden. Hello. Happy to have you in. B Thrash, happy March Madness from South Carolina. Happy to have you in as well. Jocelyn coming in from South Georgia. Love Georgia, by the way. Got to spend some good time there while I was at Deco Network, and I love the area around Atlanta that I got to spend time in, so I really miss that out there. Letty saying, hi, guys. Sandy's in. Jenny is in. Hello, Jenny. Margaret says hi, and happy to have her there. And actually, we got a question from Vitor. If you don't know, digitizer of great repute. Eric Campbell says, I have some clients who run embroidery part-time. What suggestions to turn the part-time job into a full-time job? I'm going to say this. Number one, we have to expand our ability to take on work. The thing that we can do before I get too far into that is just say we can do outsourcing, and it might be a good idea to keep building the ability to get work in without doing all the production yourself, because then we can get enough turnover to say once we've got these customers and we're getting them enough material, we're bringing in enough work and throughput in our shops part-time, even though we don't have to spend the time ourselves to run the embroidery, maybe we can then transition that stuff into in-house production if production is what we want to do. They might also discover that they just want to become brokers. But that's one of the easy ways, or if not easy, it's one of the ways I have seen successfully work to go from part-time to full-time, is that people will, with the knowledge they have as usually as producers, people who are producing embroidery, they will start to broker embroidery and end up pulling in enough work that they build up a customer base and bring it in. The other thing I would say is marketing to your existing customers. No matter when you're trying to increase your overall throughput of orders, get out to your existing customers and market new potential products that solve problems for them, for sure. Market that way. And I would say look to make sure you're cyclically checking in on customers that you usually get and continually getting yourself in front of them. People who have already tipped over that purchase point with you, that they trust you enough to purchase from you, are much more likely to come back and purchase again. By the way, I'm going to say hi to a couple more people before we get going, but good question, Vitor. We may go into that more. And in fact, what I would say also, I'm doing a class coming up this coming Tuesday for DAX, the Decorative Apparel Expo, at daxshow.com. And there's actually going to be a link in the links list. And you guys know that I always put up the links list. I've got that as one of the links in the links list, where I talk about going from creative hobby to professional, that entire kind of cottage professional industry that you can get into from the creative hobby when you're not maybe a large producer, but you're a small in-home even producer. There is some stuff going on that I'm going to be teaching very shortly. By the way, I just got to say hi to Mike. He's heading out. He's reciprocator number one, who named the reciprocators, all you guys out there, people who give back, and also named after, of course, the one of the most important parts on the machine, because it's the one that drives the needle bar. Mike's saying he's catching on the replay today. Have a good one. Have a good one, Mike. Have to call out and say hi to you every time you jump in. So we got a couple more people that I'm going to go ahead and call out real quick on the topic of vaccinations. Jenny says got hers this morning. Yeah, absolutely. Sean says hi. All happy to see you here, Sean. Jocelyn says I hope you feel better. I'm going to feel all right. And Jeff says you'll bounce back. Hopefully you bounce back quick. You know, even if I don't bounce back too quick, I'm the one lucky thing about being a digitizer, embroiderer, who's working on software, is I get to do a lot of work from the seat. Now, certainly I need to get a lot more workouts in because I have put on some COVID weight. However, it does let me continue to work while I'm not feeling awesome and still get things done that are worthwhile. But thank you guys for the well wishes there. Marianne saying, good afternoon from Santa Fe. Happy to have you in, fellow New Mexican. Ramona made it in. Cool. Happy to have you in, Ramona. Also digitizing and doing great stuff in education as well. Stacy saying hello from Texas. Jasmine saying newbie here and glad to catch us live. Jasmine, happy to have you in. If you have questions, if you have comments, I don't get to all the questions and comments, but go ahead and grab those and check out the back catalog of these shows. There may be some stuff that's in there for you, but if not, comment and they may turn into shows down the road. But always happy to have newbies here. Definitely check in and see. There's lots of technical stuff and lots of business stuff. I try and do a little bit of everything, but we'll have to see how that goes. In any case, Frank says, had mine a month back, wasn't for a couple of days. Yeah, no, the vaccine, like I said, everybody says it's really horrible. I haven't said it's horrible. I don't think I'm in a terrible way. I will say I actually am particularly sensitive to the shots, and I get sick every time I take any vaccines. But that's just me. I have a tendency to get a little sick, and it seems like it's something in shots that gets me. It has been since I was a kid. However, I will say, not doing too bad so far. We have a couple more questions. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a couple of questions, though I want to get to the main meat of what we do here. I know I say the meat, the actual center material that I promised to cover. I am going to grab a couple more questions out of here and see if there's anything else that is worthwhile here. So Jocelyn says, do you see pages or groups work better when trying to build a client base and increase engagement on Facebook? In all honesty, I've seen groups work better. This doesn't mean you don't have to have a page. You should have a page. But the thing is, I've seen people mining groups. Now, there are ways you can do this that are not on the level. You don't want to jump into a group, an interest group, and just start bombarding them with messages about sales. However, one of the things you can absolutely do in social media, it's something that was kind of, if not pioneered, it was brought to the forefront by a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. If you have seen him at VaynerMedia, you jump in and you answer questions on social media related to a topic that you have an interest in and that you want to sell to. You jump in and offer answers. Offer answers and make yourself a subject matter expert, somebody who people look to for answers, and they will come to you, find your materials, find your sales, find your objects you are trying to sell as well. And that helps you to build a client base and increase engagement. Also, super critical, since we're talking about marketing in general, I can go ahead and go to this, but super critical is that you are showing the kind of work that you want to do and that is profitable for you to do. So show your work. If you don't currently have clients that are doing the kind of work you have to do, this is why there's a great reason to do self-directed projects, the way that designers tend to do. Designers, when they're working, tend to make projects that kind of fulfill these needs that they see in the world, and then show them, because in showing them, in making these objects, making these solutions, they will then have some sort of background. They have something that can be addressed by people, because some people don't really even know they have the problem until they see the solution for the problem, or they've been looking for it and they don't have it out there. So doing the kind of work that you want to do later, the kinds of things that you want people to see, is important, and showing people for sure. But what I am going to say is building a group so far, in my opinion, has been more useful. Pages are inbound. Somebody has to come find you. They have to be looking for you. Groups, people are interacting, and you're going to be kind of living on that energy in some way. But you do have to be careful with the way you do this in groups. If you jump in and start marketing, this is not going to be worthwhile. And honestly, you have to go in with the concept that you're giving value. If there's anything I can tell you about that, is to give value first. If you walk in with the intention to give something valuable information, valuable insights, things that may not be available to the people who are there, give value first. The thank you will come from that. You have to give away a little bit. You have to be present. And Ramona is really on the beat of this one. Be the helper and the person in the groups that people will trust you. And also, because you've shown work, the work is its own success. They can look at the work, they can see the thing that you've done, and they see the success in it already. They see the work. You are capable. How do they know you're capable? They've seen the work. If you jump into a group and just start spamming them with, offers of items, offers of sales, offers of services, you're not going to get anywhere with that. You're going to get banned. And on top of that, they're not really seeing the work. If you jump in and answer, and this isn't also, by the way, a bunch of digitizers have jumped in now and started doing this thing where they just spam digital previews of work. And by the way, if you have not been in any of my classes so far and you haven't watched any of these take-ups, I'll say it one more time for everybody. The final product of digitizing is the embroidery, not the file. They jump in with these digital previews, not the actual embroidery, so we can't actually see how it worked. They jump in, drop these digital previews, and just say, how do you like my work? Tell me what you think. Give me a critique, when it's very obvious that what they actually are trying to do is drum up interest in their work. If you're showing something, you discuss it, you actually build the community, you answer questions first. By the way, answer questions first, help people with their problems first. Then you come out with work that you think is valuable. Chances are they're going to ask you about it. And I will say this, as someone who no longer takes contract digitizing, I am consistently offered opportunities to digitize, despite the fact that I'm not selling it anymore, because I have a proven track record of work. So that's one of those things you have to think. And you really do. And this is a good point as well. Absolutely. Christine says, keep in mind, if you have a group, you have to stay consistent and create a community long before you can sell anything. Absolutely. Definitely agree with Eric. The group has to have a purpose other than you selling to group members. Absolutely true. And Frank's right. Most groups don't allow self-promotion. What I will say, though, is being a person who does this work, they will come to find you. Don't do self-promotion in the groups like that. Help the people who are in the groups. They will come to find you. They will ask you if you have something. They'll come find you once you have shown your work. Actually participate in the groups. Plus, part of this, guys, we're talking about embroidery groups here. I'm hoping that if you're selling embroidery, you're selling into other interests that aren't more embroiderers. A lot of us are embroiderers, so we're talking about that. But when we're talking about product, hopefully you're selling into customer groups that are embroiderers. And if you are doing so, then really all you can do is talk about the interest group, be there and be present, and once in a while show an item that is pertinent to the group if you're working with groups that way. So it really depends. Really depends, and it definitely has to do with the reputation you build, and the reputation you build is old school. We can say social media is important. Social media is not important. Social interactions are important. Media is just the way it's done. It is exactly what it sounds like, a medium. Social media is a way, a method, a material in which we work the social angle, if you want to call it that. And you'll get business from those groups, not because you are working social media, but because you are engaging in social interactions that improve people's feeling about you, that have them trusting you because you've actually provided value, been trustworthy, and shown a body of work. So it just depends on what you're talking about. I will say that lots of people are certainly building on groups. We'll go ahead and grab a couple more comments, and we'll get into more of what I plan to cover today. Jasmine says, "I've been using my group of 1.7K. What I'll be able to do when my machine arrives, they're excited." Yeah, totally. Show people what you are intending to do and talk about it. But yeah, and also I'd say this. Vitor says 90% of my clients come from groups. Never spam. Always try and help with what I know. Important is not just take, but be a helper too. Yeah, go in giving, it'll come back. And I know everybody's like, oh, but people take advantage. Some people take advantage. Don't worry about those people. Go in with the mindset that you know what you're going to give away, understand how much time you really have to spend on this stuff. I mean, you can't do it to the detriment of paying work. Go in knowing that when you give, when you come in with that attitude, the likelihood is they're going to see who you are, what you're capable of, and what you do. And this is, Christine is right on the money with this. Never underestimate the value of building trust. People buy from people they trust and like. Christine's doing a class with the DAX shows on social media. Sign up for it too. Trust me, she knows. Tom gets business from groups. Tom Farr of Buzzard Bay Embroidery also. Yeah, absolutely. This is just how it is. We are we are doing that kind of work. That building trust is important. And certainly, Ramona is right. There are groups that allow you to sell. You can market in local for sale groups. She posts some items on Thursday. The message only available till Saturday, and it works absolutely. And here's the thing. Actually, this actually is a good. Thank you, Ramona. This is actually a good segue into what I'm talking about. Though we're going to go back to it again. Context is everything. If the group is a group where people have gone, they are specifically signed up to the group, they are signed up to the email list, they are on the website because they want to buy, then you can sell. When people are on Amazon, they are expecting to be sold a product. That's the context. They want to be sold a product right now. They have arrived at the place where selling happens. They inbound have come to this place to buy. Context is everything. If you're in a social group or a niche group that talks about interests and you're selling like crazy, you're out of context. You're not reading the room. You have to read the room and know. If you're in those groups, you participate in the culture of the group, and maybe you let people see what you are, who you are, what you do. But that's the context. The context is sharing and interaction. The context in this for sale group Ramona described is selling. There you can sell. People are there because they want to buy something. They're shopping. There's a difference between shopping and social interaction. There are different contexts, and there's different contexts for what is good in all of these different ranges. So it's super worthwhile. And yeah, absolutely. When you're talking about groups, for sure, Jeff is right on this one. When in doubt, message an admin. Good not to get the ban. Absolutely. You will get banned if you sell in the wrong groups. And what I would say is, for my part, my experience only, not going to talk about anybody else's experience on this one. I tend to not sell almost ever. I sell in places that are meant for selling. When I'm in groups, I don't sell anything. Even when I was digitizing commercially, even when I was, honestly trying to sell products, I never went into group selling. I went into groups to be the person who knows about solutions that you can use. In the case of digitizing, the solution is I am someone who knows about how to get art into an interpreted version that's going to run on the machine and provide good embroidery for you. I know this stuff. I'm going to offer myself in any way that works. People are then going to come to me and say, well, can you just do it? Trust me, the next phrase you will almost always get is, can you just do it? Oh, you're telling me all these ways you can do it. Can you just do it for me? Is there an amount of money I can pay you for you to do this job to make it easy for me? Absolutely. And the same is true of products. We're offering something that provides a solution, or at least that's the idea we should be looking at. If we're just offering commodities and saying, I got shirts, I can put stuff on it, I got shirts, I can put stuff on it. That is, that's not necessarily enough. That's the entry level. That is the bar to entry, is that you can reliably decorate a garment, is the lowest bar to entry for being a garment decorator who's selling. After that, we have to say, I can provide a solution for you. You need to get a bunch of garments to a team that are decorated, have names on them. I know how to get that done for you the easiest way. I show that I'm someone who does this and I'm excited about what I do. You notice that I'm one of these people. You're going to say, hey, well, can you do that for me? So that's part of it. That's part of it. It really depends on what you're trying to do, what you want out of it, but know your room. Read the room. Know what context you're in. But we came here to talk about good customers, right? That was at least how we started. And admittedly, I do want to grab a couple more comments, but we are going to get to the customers and what we're talking about. Marianne says loyalty is very important. I would say yes, in context. There is such a thing as being loyal to someone who's not loyal to you. But developing loyalty can be important. I would say this: fair dealing is important. Clear stated goals are important. Clear stated failure states and policies are very important. So make sure that you clear the air with customers before you get started. Jeff says, I'm the exact same way about jumping in and not trying to sell. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people aren't really comfortable selling. I can be comfortable selling, but I'm selling in the fact that I know I'm offering a solution that's going to help somebody. If I'm not, I won't be selling that. If I don't think there's value in it, I won't be selling in the first place. So that's how that goes. So yeah, here's Christine is absolutely right on this. Quickest way to kill a social media profile: want to buy my stuff, repeat to infinity. No one will respond positively to that. No, people want to know you. They want to trust you. They buy from people. Buying is an emotional decision. And that whether we say there's logic in it, yes, there's logic in it to the point that people need to know whether or not they are getting a shirt. Will it have the right number of arm and head holes? And will it actually work? Surely. They may get further on. If you're somebody who is into details, they may want to know fiber content. They may want to know how it wears, what sizes are running a certain way. And those are valuable things that help you tip over the decision-making point. But the actual trust is emotional. And so going at it as a machine that sells is not going to help. You want to be a consultant, not a commodity. I know I hit that one pretty often. It's a phrase I say all the time, but you do. You want to be the person who provides solutions, not the box that shirts and money goes in and decorated shirts come out, because anyone else who can do that will replace you. To be valuable is to have value to add. And honestly, what people really want is the results. And the result is important. And it's something I actually have in my deck here, if you want to call it that, in my comments here, is that the results are more important by far than features. Features of a garment are nothing compared to the results they want. When someone is coming to you for a shirt that is for their family reunion, do they want a shirt? Or do they want someone in their family to smile and say, wow, this shirt is cool. Thank you, Aunt Becky, for getting shirts for us. This is so great. Where did you find them? Do they want that smiling face? Do they want the picture of all of the people they care about wearing the shirt that gives them a feeling of togetherness? Or do they want a polyester shirt? I mean, yeah, they want the shirt. The shirt is part of it, but what's the end goal? The end goal is not the shirt. The goal is the feeling, is the use, is that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. That's what we're looking for. That's the important thing. So I'm going to go to we have some other comments. I'll jump on comments as we get going. I'll try and answer questions as we get going, but let me briefly touch on the things I actually said I'd touch on when I advertised the episode. Since I like to say, get clear with your customers. If you guys are my customers, you are my consumers of the product I'm offering today, which is the show. I'll try to at least give you something of what I said I would. And let's go ahead and first say, you guys know the links list is here. It should be in the top comment. If it's not, go ahead and head out here to this link. This is what we have for kind of supplementary materials today. And I'll go ahead and copy that and make sure it's in the comments now for everybody. The links list gives you a few different things that are interesting, and we'll go ahead and pop these up so you can just see briefly what we have in the list today. And here's what we have. We have a little bit about niche marketing, because I think it's important. You guys talk about getting into selling. Yes, it's the same article I kind of push over and over again, but I have found no easier way for people who are uncomfortable at selling to get better at selling, but by marketing to a niche that they belong to. It's just the case. I've found that to be easy. Me talking about e-commerce with ASI Radio. It's a podcast, so it's audio only. It's a great thing you can listen to. You don't have to watch. and has some good ideas about web presence and social media and stuff. It's a little old, but the thing is, like I always say, I like to break things down to an elemental level. Yes, the technologies change. Yes, the predilection for video or audio or text changes. However, the social part of social media does not change that much. A couple other things in here are how to increase a product's perceived value. Since we're talking about perception of value and what people actually buy when they're buying into a garment, into an object, this is what we're talking about. We also have a little piece from back in Stitches Magazine quite some time ago talking about the healthcare market. Since we're going to talk about good customers, one of the good customers I'm going to talk about, funny enough, since I just went and got my my vaccination from the same people who I used to sell all their uniforms to, we're going to talk about the healthcare market. I thought I'd share that, guys, with you. And the other couple things here are the DAX seminar track. If you guys are interested in those seminars, both of which are about selling and about e-commerce and business as far as embroidery goes, those are there in that seminar track if you're interested in signing up. They're $35 each. They're not very expensive, but it's a good time to be live with me and have some interaction more like this, but with a nice worksheet, handout, slides, and a little more structure. And the last one is ShirtLab Summit. I did a quick talk for them, a pre-recorded piece where I discussed answers based on this, again, based on e-commerce and e-commerce from Reuters that might be interesting to you. And that's actually a free sign up. So that's another link you may want to check out. And that's going on today and tomorrow. And I believe they have the recordings. But today and tomorrow, we have sessions that you can listen to. And one of them is a pre-recorded one that I did for them. So that's the base here. And like I said, we have some of the things that you've seen before from me, the niche marketing, stuff like that. There's the e-commerce piece and perceived value in products, stuff like that. So like I said, I think it's interesting stuff. It's not always germane to everything we discuss, but I like to leave you with something. If you're the kind of person who comes back and wants to read a little bit, you get a chance to take a look at that stuff. And it's, quite some time ago, some of these pieces, but I think they're useful. And I like to see them get a second life and be helpful to you guys again now when they can be. But let's go ahead and get back to it. First thing I want to talk about, we're talking about good today, right? And I'm going to put a lot of scare quotes around good. Good. What is the good? What makes something good? And let's talk about this, right? And here are the kind of things we're talking about. What makes a customer good, right? What makes a design good? What makes a product good? What makes marketing good? Well, there's a few things I want to discuss with that. Good, like I said, it's not something that someone is branded with forever and they are good or they are not good. The truth of the matter is, good is really contextual, right? Good, like we said, context is everything. Something is only good in as much as good in a certain context, right? So good is what? Good is a good fit. A good fit for the current situation, a good fit for your company, a good fit for the kind of work you want to do, a good fit for the event, if we're talking about a product that the person is buying it for. Good really only means that it's a good fit. It answers a question, it solves a problem for the person who is invested in it. For us, when we're talking about good customers, we're saying, all right, a customer has to solve some problems for us. Right? We're talking about the things we do. We're solving problems for them. Customer has to solve some problems for us. Chief problem certainly being that we want them to buy an object from us, to buy something from us so that we can make money and continue to live, carry on, and do the work we want to do. Certainly. But there's other things they have to do for us too. And the kind of customer, it depends greatly on the market we're in and the way we're selling and the way we're producing for any given time. So a good customer for us today may not be a good customer for us in the future. It's fair to say. So here's kind of what I'm going to break down for it. When we're talking about any of these things, we're talking about evaluating anything. The first part of that evaluation should be this. Good is not as important as successful. Successful. So why do I break that down? And I've got quotes on successful as well, is because I'm not just saying makes more money. I'm not, and yes, of course, makes more money. It's a good thing. We want to be profitable, but it's not just makes more money. It's not just has more throughput. It's not just that. Success really depends on a success condition. You have to define a condition. It has to answer a question. And the question, if it's not answered, you can't say it's successful. Because we could say that, oh man, I had 300 sales when I went to this event, and that was great for me, or 3,000 sales. But if all of those sales, if any individual sale, if they weren't profitable, then the number of sales is not necessarily a success condition for everybody. If the purpose of the event was to market, and you're like, I don't mind that I'm operating at a loss because all I want to do is make sure that I am in the market and everyone sees me. It's an advertising or a marketing event, and I am charging money for the objects, but all I'm doing is covering costs and I'm not trying to do incredible profit. Well, that's a success condition. And we could say, as a marketing event, 3,000 people know who I am and what I do, and I'm okay with the fact that when I total up everything that I spent at this event, that it was not profitable. Because for me, I knew that this was a cost. I defined it as a cost, and I was out there marketing. I expect that in the future, this will seed the ground for me to make more money down the road or to get more business, whatever it is you want to do. Success depends on a success condition that you have to define. And a good customer depends on defining what's important to you as a good customer. And good customers aren't the same for every segment of the decorated apparel industry. Absolutely not. Success is really important. And honestly, this is I like how Brian says this, but I'm going to go ahead and jump in with that. Good is happy with the result. Product, profit, etc. Et cetera, is wonderful. And the take up, even when under the weather, Eric rocks it. Thank you, sir. Brian Bailey of Embroidery fame, who is always making things that I consider good and successful. But that's the thing. So the success condition isn't the same for everybody. If I was honest with you, I would say the take up. If you want to say, is it a monetary success? I'm not charging anything for this. So, of course, if someone's success condition for the take up was I'm selling something, I'm not. So that's not success for that. If the success was a literal check in the mail of royalties, no, I'm not advertising, I'm not selling anything. That's not that success condition. For me, my success condition is when I hear from you guys that something was helpful. That's my success condition. And when people say that to me, that they've had help, that they have learned something, that helps, right? That helps. And actually, I'm going to say that I'm going to bring in one more comment before we keep going. Aaron says, a good customer for me doesn't try to bully me to do something. Do you even know me, bro? And I'm going to say this is true. Part of the success condition for us also has to be our lifestyle. Do we want customers that are horrible to work with? I would certainly say in my personal life, I have had to make the decision many times that even this profitable customer, if they make my life miserable, is a good customer. Part of my success condition for work is to work at something that I can put my whole heart into. And if I can't do that, I'm not achieving my success condition. So yeah, there's my touchy-feely side of it. And I agree with you, Aaron. Some of it's not worthwhile. Plus, it affects your productivity more than you know to be consistently working at a purpose that doesn't serve you at all or that you don't believe in. You will be less able to work. Just the truth, in my opinion. Like I said, all of this is my opinion. I'm talking from my experience, and everybody else may have a different experience. But for me, when I'm talking about success, there are other ways to define this. I will go ahead and go into a more business, less fuzzy version of this thing. Because for me, the success condition really it still can be about sales, still is about profit. And I tend to think about the different kind of segments we're in, right? We're in different segments. Custom decoration is one segment where people are going to bring in art and we're going to make something custom just for them and that order gets fulfilled. It's one kind of customer. Company stores, people are going to come in, pay more of a retail example. And customer stores in this case, company stores, we're talking about like online stores that serve one particular customer, one particular segment, usually one customer, one company. Company stores like this, they're more retail style, so we're definitely getting more individually. Each garment we're being paid more for, but we usually have to do more handling and individual fulfillment of an order. For company stores, the company that I'm looking for, not the individual customer, is probably what I'm talking about when I'm talking about good customers, and they have a different set of qualities that I'm looking for than for custom decoration. Incentive programs. If I'm doing incentive programs, then it's all about the company and not about the end users at all. So my good customer for an incentive program is the company and has nothing to do with the people who are buying the incentives, aside from the fact that I have to make sure the people who are buying the incentive items buying with company points or whatever it is that get worked on. And this is where, if you don't know incentive programs, it's where a company has a company store for which they either give out vouchers or allow their employees to buy certain incentives so that they can use these as sort of incentive programs to get them to do stuff at their jobs. Incentive program customers, very different thing. So no matter what segment you're in, we have different things that make these customers good. For custom decoration, the kind of customer I'm looking for is someone who understands that I am a consultant, not a commodity, and trusts me to make decisions about things. In fact, I'll go ahead and bring back up the original sheet that we have here, and I'll drop out my custom decoration thing so you can see it. The original kind of card for the show here, you can see different kinds of customers being shown here. On the far left-hand side, this is a company store. It's a uniforming store for Presbyterian hospitals. For me, what do they have? Well, here are the things they have. They're a company store. They have, certainly, we can talk about the number of users they have, number of users and buyers. We're talking about all the people that work for them. Lots of people work for them, and that's a great thing, right? So I know that I've got a lot of people who are wearing garments. We're selling garments. We want to put garments on bodies. Lots of bodies means lots of garments. That's the way it is. The size of the market, right? So that's good. And we can judge that differently depending on the kind of segment we're in. Also, I'm going to say market congestion. Well, the thing is, we're going to lock these folks in, or at least I did at this point. We were in a contract and we were the only providers for Presbyterian at the time. Other thing we have is what? Turnover. And like I said, I'm probably going to refer to this again as we go, but we had turnover, and two kinds of turnover here. People coming in and out, and that's the same thing you can get from, like, let's say we're doing uniforming for restaurants. Restaurants have incredibly high turnover. Generally, one garment is not being passed on to the next person. They're going to have to get rid of that garment or change it, or the sizes are different. So they're going to get new garments and new people come in. So turnover means a steady stream of work because we're going to keep on providing garments. Uniforming in company stores, turnover is important for the customer to be a good customer, or at least it can be. And we had some flow, new people coming in all the time, and a tendency for new garments or new needs, because they also did event-based garments. If you have somebody who does a ton of events, flow like that, where new garments are going to be continually needed, new designs are continually going to be coming up, that's another way for that to be a good customer. And that's also for custom decoration. Flow is impressive. So that's the thing. It really depends on the customer. We're looking over that. We have Breaking Bad in the middle here. And yes, that is really the Breaking Bad. We did all the work for, we did a lot of screen-based props, but a ton of the stuff we did was for the crew. And that's an actual strike-off sheet of hoodies for crew. So Breaking Bad, what was good about Breaking Bad? Well, honestly, they were willing to pay a fair amount to get things when they needed them on time very quickly. Breaking Bad was a great client for that. Also, they had, again, turnover, had a lot of people coming in and out. They had flow because they were consistently adding different titles to things and doing new seasonal setups that would require us to make all new art for everything. They did events, right? Tons of that. And they, once again, market congestion. Once we were locked in with them doing products, they weren't looking for anybody else because they wanted a solution from a consultant that was going to handle it uniformly all the time. If we look up at the top there, you see Bernalillo County Sheriff, and back in the back of that image, there are a bunch of little badges all over the place. They needed to have their entire set of badges redesigned, and I redesigned every one of the badges for all these different departments. This was the kind of thing where we had some, I would call that flow as well, new designs coming in. And we had a number of users. Once again, we had turnover. The garments had to be remade quite a bit. We had to make lots of patches. They had quite a few people, so they had a nice size of the market or a nice number of users. Once again, this is where we're at. We're looking for that flow. But what you're also going to see over on the upper right-hand side, we have these guys who are DBAD. I won't tell you what it stands for. These guys allowed me to do some really creative work for their company and to make solutions that were artistic and creative. That's a great customer for me because instead of making me be slavish to their art, they allowed me to be creative. Same thing down at the bottom, Knob Hill Bar and Grill. They had turnover. Once again, why do they have turnover? Well, we're talking about a restaurant. Garments get damaged. New people come in and out quite a lot. So you got flow. They also had flow in the fact of creativity. They were doing event-based marketing. They were doing new stuff on a seasonal basis. They had a real designed look that they were going for, and they wanted things to look cool. So that little NH with the Argyle there was one of many pieces they did in different styles. So they had a lot of flow. And for me, they were cool because they were creative and let me do really interesting stuff. So really, it just depends on what you're looking for as success condition. So let's kind of go back over that one more time, right? So no matter what we're looking for, I think some of these are applicable to multiple segments, but we are looking for this same kind of setup. If we're especially doing e-commerce, especially doing company stores, this makes sense. And you'll hear, if you go to my e-commerce classes, you'll hear me talk about this in more detail, certainly, and reiterate it and give you more kind of use cases. But we are looking for these things, right? Certainly, we're looking for a number of users or buyers. That's also in any generic market we're looking for. We want to have a number of people that it makes sense for us to continue working for them. The thing is, this may not be as critical. If we were in the boutique market, if we were in bridal, if we were doing things that are high end or fashion, then this stuff is not as critical. Why is it not as critical then? Well, it's not as critical because if we have people paying high dollar, high ticket for individual pieces, then it's not as critical that we have flow or throughput. But for company stores, for uniforming, these are important. This is important. Number of users and buyers, this is important. Turnover, this is important. Flow, because we're trying to make things go through. When we have lower margins, we also have to maintain more flow. We have to flow internally. We have to continue to get jobs in and get jobs out. When we have lower margins, us continuing to have throughput ourselves is super important. When we have individual pieces that have a really high profit margin on them, we can spend more time on these pieces, and then the flow is not as important as having a customer who's willing to pay and who values our creative input. So the success condition is different. The customers are different. It's the same thing. Size of the market. You can talk about having a ton of people in a generic market, but the problem is if the market is huge, the congestion is usually huge because there's enough demand, then more people are out there trying to serve the demand. Sometimes the size of the market is that we want something smaller, the long tail of interest. Niche markets are the smaller markets. Those smaller markets are usually not congested, not as well served, and they have a tendency to pay more for what they want because they don't have as many options and they're excited to see somebody marketing to their specific interest, to their niche. So all of these things can be set differently. What would I say then, right? Traditional custom decoration, we do want throughput. We do want flow. We want somebody who's going to continue to come back to us with jobs over the years. The return on the value of that customer, the overall lifetime value of the customer, is them coming back either seasonally or continually with a steady flow of garments, right? If we're looking for company stores, that can be true as well, but we're also looking to be able to provide solutions like fulfillment, like individual fulfillment, for which we can demand a higher profit margin. That's important. If we are looking for boutique stuff, then we're trying to look for people who are willing to pay to have more work done or to have a creative solution that's individual or to pay for a higher end product. So that's the same thing. What makes a good product? What makes a product good? For a restaurant chain, what makes a product good is durability. They want something that's going to stand up to the work that they need to do, that's going to stand up to the laundry they need to do. Same thing with the hospital work. That's a product that's valuable to them. The product that's valuable to us is one that is reliable enough for us to get it when we need it. We can have it on a website and we know that we can continue ordering it and providing it. And we know that we're getting enough margin on it to make sense. And for us, that's easy enough to decorate so that we don't have wasted time and effort in decorating a product. I've seen tons of people say, can you sew on this? Can you sublimate on this? Can you do this? And then they go through a process of ripping things apart, of going through coatings that are not normal to the process, doing things to make it possible. And that's when they're getting into what I call, and kind of in a derogatory way, craft projects. I love craft projects. I want to do creative craft projects all the time. There are times where what we're actually doing is a craft project, not selling something, and we're not making profit anymore. And if our success condition is, I want to make this cool thing with this person, I don't care if I make money, cool. If we're then going to maybe use that for marketing, but be careful. You make something like that that looks really cool, it might show that you can do cool stuff, but if you show unprofitable work, people will want exactly that kind of work, and you might be doing more unprofitable work if you take it up. However, craft projects can be cool. You can do craft projects. You can do interesting projects that just stretch your abilities. You need to know when you're doing those and you're not in the process of making profit anymore. And part of that is having a product that's good for everybody. It fulfills the needs of the user, of the end user. It fulfills the needs of the purchaser, the person who's buying it from you directly. And that could just be budgetary. But they still, of course, need to fulfill the end user goal, what the end user needs out of the garment, especially when there's functional things that uniforms have to have. And for us, it has to be profitable and it has to actually hold up to the decoration process and be easy to decorate. That's the best garment. That's the ideal. It's when we get everyone's needs fulfilled. That's what makes a product good. So we're talking about, no matter what we're talking about, what makes something good is it fulfills the needs of the people who are involved with it. I mean, that's it. Context, right? Though we have to think about it. What drives the customer? What is it they need? What is it they're looking for? What is it that we can address? How can we address it? That's how we make marketing good. Marketing is good when we can address the questions that the customer has in advance, when we can present to the customer solutions they don't know exist, when we can present to the customer what they need before they need it, that's the best marketing. But the thing we have to remember, we always say know your audience. Well, what is that? Is what drives the customer? What are they actually looking to do? And we have to remember, no matter what, not only context, sure, context is everything how we say it, but we need to remember that results are more important than features. What we're actually presenting, the results to them, how their life will change. Yes, I know it sounds corny, and I've said it before. What will change about their life, about their event, about the way that they have done things, or what is happening with their life in relation to the apparel you provided for them? Because they bought from you, because they bought this specific product, the results are more important. And for that, we're really looking for several things in our marketing. We're looking for the right time, the right place, and the right pitch, right? So I've already talked about the right pitch, right? Is the results. We want to deliver to them a concept that solves problems for them, and it shows them results. It shows them the thing they want to achieve. I think that this is a more powerful way of going about it than just features. There are certain people who are power users of any item who want to see all the features, and that may be interesting to them. But even then, that is usually paired with imagery or some other content that tells them something about what it means to be someone who has all these power features or this wonderful product. We want to make them the hero of their story, and we are there with our product to offer something that lets them do that. And especially for us who are doing custom orders that are used by someone else but bought by a person in the middle, we are trying to make them look good to the end user. When we're doing a company store, we want, aside from just uniforming the employees need uniforms, they need clothes, we're dressing them. Cool. We want the employees to enjoy wearing the apparel, to have it stand out and work the way it's supposed to work, to stand up to whatever torture or treatment it needs to stand up to be comfortable enough and decent for them to use. They have to enjoy it. And they are going to look to their company, their branding, as something to be proud of, or at the very least as not being a bad actor in the process of getting them those uniforms. And they're going to look at us and our company in that way too. By making sure we think about their end goals and what they get, certainly we're also helping that in their intermediate, right? We're making the company the hero of the story of making sure they get what they need to do their jobs. So our direct customer, the company, certainly gets that. And then we look at what we're doing for those end users as our customers. Well, we're trying to help them look professional while they do their job, to feel good while they're doing their job, and to have the functions they need. The pockets are where they're supposed to be. The garments are functioning the way they're supposed to be. They're not failing them. And they are enabling them to do the best work they can do and look good and feel good while they're doing it. We're looking to those goals, but the thing is, ultimately, they're saying, I need something that's going to help me do my job the best and have me look professional while I'm doing it. We are making them hero of the story. We're not the heroes bringing you the garment. You're the hero doing the job. You're a nurse practitioner who needs a garment to do your work at the hospital. We want to make sure you have what you need to do that job. We're going to make you look good to your end client, your patient. We're making them the heroes of the story. We are here to be support. And that's on every level of how we sell. What makes them good customers is that they do the same for us to a degree. They refer us to people. That's a success condition. Having customers that refer you to more work, refer people to us to do our job, that support us in what we do, that's a good customer, certainly. That pay for things that they want to purchase, that pay for the additional value that we provide, those are good customers. Good designs, that's another thing, and we're going to get into that. But, let me stop and take comments real quick. Let's see what we have in comments and people talking about stuff as well. But let's jump into this real quick. First, we talked about Aaron said good customer doesn't bully them. That too. Emotionally decent customers are great. Kat says, I have learned so much from you. Thank you. I'm so glad that that's the case. If there's anything I do for you guys today, and you learn one thing coming away from this while you're listening to this and doing something else, I've done my job. That's what I want to do here. So thank you for saying that. And by the way, you are a great listener. When people give feedback, that is awesome to me. That is the air I breathe to keep doing this stuff. So thank you. I appreciate that. Christine says, same with me with women in business. We're talking again about why we do what we do. Success is telling stories that impact the lives of women and teaching them things. Every time someone tells me to learn something or the show impact them, I've been successful. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's fine. Your success condition doesn't have to be profit. I do teach people to look toward profit. Why do I teach you to look toward profit? Because that is the way the world works. If I want you to be healthy and happy and continue to do this awesome work that you're doing, putting yourself out there and helping people, I need to make sure you're taken care of. And by the way, good customers know that. Good customers know that the exchange also feeds them, because by keeping you in business, they have a reliable partner that is always going to be there for them. Good customers are customers who know that, in my opinion. Christine says, money is nice, don't get me wrong, but if you are working for something that matters to you, the money will generally come to you. Maybe you have to be creative to figure out how to put something out that people want to buy, but it can be done. Absolutely. Plus, the other thing is, don't always think it has to be directly related to what you do. People come out and they start trying to market to people doing exactly what they do. Like I said, we market to embroiderers, realize that people don't know what you do, and you can provide something that they've never seen, even if you think that you know everything about it. Frankly, we are not our customers. We have to know that the audience is not us. If we make the message for ourselves, that's bad marketing. Unless the customer looks exactly like us, and it's very likely that they don't. That's bad marketing. We have to put ourselves in the mind of the customer and identify them and say, what is our customer looking for? What drives the customer? What can I do to address that? And realize the people who are doing the best are finding, and I hate to use the word synergy, but whatever, synergy is fine. They're finding solutions that they know how to provide that the customer can't provide for themselves. And they're looking at all the problems that are out there and saying, you know what, I think I can address these problems. I'm going to put something out there in the world that addresses these problems. And then the people come to them to make it happen. And I think that's the people who are doing the most. That's the people who are doing the best. And in fact, in times like we've been going through right now, the people who stop what they're doing and say, I need to address the problems I'm seeing around me, they employ what we often call design thinking, which is working toward a problem and iterating until we solve the problem. They really weather storms better. Look around you, be aware, know what people need, ask, find out, observe, and then look at where you fit into that strategy. The people out there who are doing garment decoration who suddenly realized that people weren't going to be wearing as many uniforms and said, wait a minute, I've got a printer that can make signage. I'm going to start making signage for floor decals or signs that help people understand social distancing. They did better than the people who just said, oh man, I'm a shirt guy and I can't make more shirts right now because they don't need shirts for events. All I do is event shirts. No, all you did is event shirts. All you can do is a world of things. You have the tools to do a world of things. Don't sell yourself short. But let's talk about a couple more things in the comments before I keep going. Jenny Preston says, what are your thoughts about making your own brand using branded garments? Should your own brand have your own label in it? My thoughts are that this can be valuable. You have to realize, though, that people trust either over time or they trust based on their experiences. So when you make your own brand or use branded garments, realize that you're trading on that or you're building that. So like anything else, you're building that brand, and the experience people have with you is still going to take that building. Though, if you have branded garments, especially if you have garments that already have a name around them, I cannot remember for the life of me the name of these garments out of the UK that somebody was using that were lovely garments, and they did not sell very frequently to people, and they ended up doing some sort of deals with the decorator. People already loved the garments and cared about them, I believe, because they were an eco-friendly garment. And people started ordering from this decorator specifically on the strength of the garment's brand. If you can make a deal like that, that's awesome. Branding, having your own label in it, anytime you can put your message in front of people is usually good. Labels are usually fairly inexpensive. Lots of garments made for decoration have labels that will do tear outs. If you have the ability to have a small printer and do back prints or do heat prints and drop your own label in the neck, or if discussing with someone, and I've seen this done several times for sponsorships, someone does sports shirts and they say, hey, let me put a hang tag on it. Let me drop my logo on the hem or in the neck of this garment with my contact information, and I'll drop a percentage off your order. that can be a very strong way to build up credit with people, and it can allow people to expand your message. Because I can't tell you how many times I've done an order for someone. My famous one was I did an order for a little tiny water polo team that eventually ended up being a huge utility company in my area, coming to us to do a bunch of fulfillment for, honestly, for a customer incentive or a worker incentive program. You don't know which order turns into that, and having your own branding can really help with that. The other thing we can talk about, making your own brand, as in making your own decorated garments. Just like our customers, realize that even though you have the best idea for a t-shirt, it's not always going to be everything. Have I seen it work? Absolutely. Does it always work? No. So realize that no matter what you do, if you're doing your own line of decorations and you think you just have the best decorations for shirts, you have the best decorations for a hat, you're going to have to get out there and promote it. You're going to have to find the niche that wants it, and you're going to have to market no matter what. The great thing is you can build trust. And if you are building your own brand of decorated apparel, I would say labeling should be part of it, because it's part of the experience. If it comes out with a label from a general vendor that everybody knows, if you've got like in the US, if it's Gildan, if you have a standard Gildan shirt that's something everybody buys at Michael's or whatever, you've got something that not only that we buy in the decoration industry, but is bought at any street corner using Fruit of the Loom out of your local big box store, people are going to think, oh, it's just a printer. If it has your own label in the back of the shirt, the truth of the matter is people are going to see you as a provider of the entire garment. And though we all know that most garments are made by the same providers and we're relabeling or stuff like that, the truth of the matter is people will think of you as a more professional entity if you're producing your own garments like that. So it really depends. It really depends. And yeah, Jeff is absolutely right on this one. Selling garments to garment decorators is extremely difficult because we know what goes into it. We know what the sausage is made from. The truth of the matter is most customers don't. They don't necessarily know how it's done. They don't necessarily know what things cost. And if they see a garment that fulfills a need for them, if the image on the garment, the decoration on the garment is something that addresses their niche and they don't see anywhere else, and they have a good experience with purchasing and a good experience with the garment itself, they are definitely going to be doing well. They're going to be thinking highly of you. And I will say that having your own label can also be a form of lock-in. We can talk about whether or not lock-in is a good thing or not, but having people go to look for what kind of garment this is because they're going to run off to another decorator, and what they find is your label and contact information, the possibility is they come back to you to try and find out what it is, or they end up getting the order from you again. You might have one more chance to address that. That is a way people work. Trying to lock people down, I think, is not always the best way of marketing. I think it's not always the best kind of fair dealing. But that is one way that is used. The other way is just to say, having some sort of labeling, like I said, hang tagging with your information, if somebody allows you to do that, is great, because even though you may have end users, let's say you are decorating for a local club of some kind, you don't know what businesses they work at and what other clubs that they are in that may be addressed by having that information attached to it. So I think that's useful. And by the way, love this from Ramona. I absolutely agree with this. I like to tell my clients we are a team with the same goals to make them look good to their customers. We're a team. Yeah. I mean, definitely we know that we have some different goals. They have some different goals. But ultimately, in the process of this, we should be trying to solve their problem. Part of our success condition should be that we solve their problem, because very naturally, if we solve their problem, they will be happier with us. They will be happy with their solution and come back to us, hopefully, for work. And I'll say this: if you have bargain shoppers, sometimes somebody tells me this stuff you can't be done, somebody goes to the next person who has a lower price anyway. You don't want those people ultimately, because they're never going to be loyal. If you have what I kind of call this is not the nicest way to call it, but if we have the people who always find the dirt floor, that they're always going to dig as deep as they can to get that price cut. If you have bargain shoppers, it's fine when they come back, but you don't want them back necessarily, because they're always going to come back for a deal. They'll leave you for another price. As soon as that person realizes that the price is not fulfilling their success condition for profit, they might try and come back to you again if they think the price makes sense, or they're going to get terrible service somewhere else and come back to you because they like the service better, but they're still going to be griping about the price. Ultimately, that's not your best client. We often spend 80% of our work on these clients that are not worthwhile, and that other 20% is really on our best clients. That's what's happening. We spend all this tremendous amount of work on the clients that are only giving us 20% of our actual income, and the rest of the clients that don't take all that work are better for us. If we could cut that 20% of the clients off and find more clients that take the amount of work that we had before, we could expand our ability to serve and have more, honestly, more money coming in the meantime. So it is hard. No lie, it is hard. And also, subcontracting is hard. I'm going to go ahead and say this, Aaron. I talked about subcontracting earlier. I'll agree with this. I'm trying a screen printer for the first time. I get so frustrated waiting on others, deep breathing. Yeah, no. And that's one of the reasons people do exactly what you said. This is why I end up with so many different pieces of equipment. I worked at a one-stop shop. We did almost everything. What I'm going to tell you is there are scales of operation that eventually make it less sensible to do so. If the kind of customer we're working with is happy to have us cost more for fewer pieces because we have an attention to detail and ability to turn things out, maybe a quicker turnover time than someone else, and they're willing to pay for that, awesome for us to do all that stuff in-house. If the pricing doesn't make sense and we end up doing more work that is an opportunity cost for us, we can't do the work we're best at because we're constantly spreading ourselves too thin into other places where we don't have either labor or skill, then it doesn't make as much sense. The place where I was, we were doing signage, and it eventually ended up making a lot more sense for most of our orders to farm the signage out. We developed a relationship with someone. I am not going to say we didn't have frustrating times we were waiting on them. Absolutely happened, but they could do full color printed signage on a machine that we could definitely never pay for without having a much larger client base. And they were doing these large full color banners quick as you can ask for, where we were doing a lot of like hand cut vinyl stuff that we were applying ourselves and taking a long time on. And when we finally did have full color, the size of our printer, the ink costs were an order of magnitude more for the ink that we had on the smaller printer compared to what they were doing at massive sizes and massive scale. This isn't always the case. The truth of the matter is, on a lot of what we did that boutique kind of work. And they came to me because as a digitizer, I was providing solutions they weren't getting from other people in the interpretation. And in that case, the creativity was a lot harder to replicate other places. That's why I harp on creativity. When I talk about digitizing Dimension, you guys have seen, I've got the webinar is still out there, the recorded webinar that you could buy for demystifying next level digitizing. Why do I talk about digitizing in Dimension? Parsing stuff up, caring about stitch types, making things light so they feel good on garments, because the interpretation is a lot harder to export. The creativity is a lot harder to get somewhere else. That comes from a person and is a lot harder to replicate in any other given person than just the ability to do things. Having the equipment, everybody can buy the equipment. The problem solving, both in the creative side and the problem solving, let's say someone comes to you with a certain budget, has to get something done. They want to market to a certain group. They want to make sure that their team is all outfitted, and you help them figure out how the budget works. You help them figure out the kind of garments that would be best for their employees. You help them figure out the style that would be great for their event. It's harder to export your solutions, the knowledge that you have of your industry, the knowledge you have of the product base that's out there, of the product lines and the product supply chain, harder to export, harder to get from everywhere. Or at least if you're doing that and the other guy just says, the other guy, the other company, the other gal, whoever, they who are out there that are not you, slaps down a random catalog and says, pick something out of there and I'll call them up and figure out they have it. We can put a garment on it. Or we can put something on your garment, whatever it is. And they leave them to figure things out. Or when they come to and say, I've got a party coming up and I really don't know what to do. And someone hands off a catalog and says, well, here you go. These are the things we do. And that's the end. They don't say, well, here's an option. You've got employees who need this and that and this. Well, I have, let's put a package together with a waist apron that looks like this. You guys have what kind of restaurant? It's this kind of style. Okay, here's some cool colors that go with your logo. Here is a waist apron and a shirt and a hat that I think would work really well for your people. These aprons weather pretty well. This washes nicely. I use a thread that's going to go through the laundry pretty well. You know what? Let's do this matte finish thread because I think it's going to go great with this retro styling that you've got going on. What do you think about this proposition? And honestly, if you're someone who's doing this all the time, it doesn't take that much more time just to give them that suggestion versus, which I think takes them more time overall in the interaction, Slap a catalog down and wait. Now, for us, once again, success conditions. What is a good customer going to do there? Good customer is someone who actually participates with us in this exchange. And our success condition for the initial portion is for us to have the kind of trust from people to figure this stuff out and to want that. There are clients who don't want it. They exist. Someone will always tell me, I've got clients and they don't want any of this crap. They just want to order a shirt and get it out of the door. Great. And in fact, contract decorators, that success condition is very different. They want somebody to come with them to them with everything laid out without doing any of this solution stuff. And they want to bring in garments, crank them out, and out the door they go and just get paid for the decoration. That's a contract decorator. If that's your market, that's a different success condition. So when you're listening to people talk about what a good customer is, you have to realize, of course, that's if I talk to you about a good customer and I'm talking about a creative boutique style experience or a fashion customer, that's not going to be the same customer for a contract decorator. Of course not. So you have to say to yourself, what is it that makes a success for me? And I know tons of people are just going to say, making money. Cool. What is it with your setup right now, with the way you are able to produce about a customer that makes them right, the right fit, that you'll make more money? Is it that they spend less time with you or more? Is it because do they value your time enough to pay more for it? So when you spend more, you make more money? Or are they the kind of person who doesn't take a lot of time with you so that you can get out of your way so you can keep producing and see another customer because you have volume? Depends on your model. Context is everything. So let's go for last couple comments here before I get into what I'd like to kind of finish on because we didn't talk about it much, which is what makes a good design. Just going to throw out a couple definitions, and then we're not going to go super into bonus time today. I think we probably got another 10 minutes in me, and then I'll admit I am tired. I'm feeling a little rough today. I'm ready to probably be done. And I think that rather than give you diminishing returns, we'll go ahead and finish up. But last couple of comments. And thank you, Jeff. Jeff, who also does embroidery education himself. I appreciate this a lot. I highly recommend the Demystifying Digitizing webinar, worth every penny. Glad to hear that, man. Thank you very much. I know he took that, and Jeff's been in multiple sessions of mine. He's seen me live at DAX before, and he's done the webinar. And so hopefully he does. If he has an opinion of me that's good, then I feel pretty good about that. Especially because over at Embroidery Nerd, he's teaching a lot of things, and he does develop his own work and work from that same kind of script. He does creative work. And also, by the way, generous person who gives a lot, gives value first. So Jeff is somebody who always gives value first. So go see what's going on at the Embroidery Nerd group. Good guy. Good guy, good people. All right, Pam says, anyone can use equipment, but not everyone has knowledge and creativity. And this is what I always tell people. They're like, I can make a great shirt. I embroider really well. Okay, cool. That is the bar of entry. Appropriately being able to employ your equipment to do the job you told everybody you could do on your outside sign for your business or on your business card is the absolute lowest bar of entry. If you can't embroider, of course, I don't expect you to say you're an embroiderer. But once you can embroider, the next thing is what is your. Actually, I was in a class in a session at ThreadX, the first ThreadX conference, and I'm going to cuss, so get ready for it. What they called it was the HSF. I can't remember the name of the speaker. It just left me. Once again, I'm a little out of my sorts today. He called it the HSF. What's your holy shit factor? I won't cuss too much more for people who don't like it. But the HSF is a real thing. What is the thing that's going to make someone look at your work at your shop and go, wow, man, holy shit, that's cool. Well, yeah, that's that factor. What's the factor that makes you like that? Sometimes it's the weird art you do. Sometimes the creativity you do. Sometimes it's the fact that you fulfill at a certain time. Maybe it's because your packaging is awesome. Maybe it's because you get people ready for an event and make sure they have everything they need. Maybe it's your bright and sunny disposition. Maybe it's because they like the fact that you are a plain dealer and you don't get into small talk. The thing that makes you good at what you do and good for the customer is also contextual. In our shop, we had multiple salespeople, and we could tell who we were going to send to whom because we knew that some customers were going to have a different vibe with someone from the sales department who matched what they needed. Some people wanted the almost, I hate to say it like this, we had a salesperson that was almost domineering, who would just tell them what they needed and get it done and tell them when to have their order out in on time. And some of the customers really loved that because they wanted structure. And they wanted to be reassured that things would get done, but they wanted it to be done on a schedule and finished and handled. And they liked that attitude. Whereas other people wanted someone to go through the creative motions with them and make sure that they had what they needed and was more touchy-feely and way more excited about the process of decoration. That's a different kind of thing. And you can be that person. And it turns out if you're just that person by yourself, whatever person you are, whatever flavor of that you are as someone who's selling, as someone who's decorating, you're going to have to find your tribe if you don't have all of that within one roof like we did. You will have to find your own tribe, people who do value the way you talk. There is someone who I always refer to, and I don't mind this guy at all. I don't hate him for saying something that bothered me or whatever. But he used to comment on my stuff, still comments on my stuff, and says it's too cerebral and painful to listen to, and I think too much. He's not my tribe. You guys who sit around for an hour and a half, 2 hours to listen to me gab on this stuff, you're my tribe because you like that. People earlier on, somebody said I was a great speaker out here. Pam, so nice. Thank you. Not everybody agrees with you, and that's okay. The context matters. For someone who wants someone who is short and to the point, I am not their speaker. They want somebody who's not going to be thinky or heady or get into too much or use, 50-cent words, use long words to define things or talk about philosophy or talk about weird niche kind of things that I enjoy. I'm not your guy. I'm not your speaker. That's okay. My tribe is here, and I'm happy to have the reciprocators here to support me on that. Let's talk about, like I said, one more time. Let's go over the last couple things we have. So we talked kind of about what is the good, right? What makes something good? And once again, good's not as important as successful. Success depends on the success condition. That's important to go over. But the last thing I want to talk about very briefly is what makes a design good. And whenever I talk to people about their designs, invariably they're going to be talking about something technical. Usually they're talking about the way something runs or the way it looks. The two things that we get are this. We get running. We're having problems with something not registering correctly, having thread breaks, having slowdowns, too many trims, something like that. Or we have the creative side. It doesn't look good enough. It doesn't look like what it should do. It doesn't represent the original art well enough, right? Or at least to their liking or to someone's liking. It doesn't have the clarity and cleanliness of in text or the legibility. This could be either technical or creative, whatever. Both sides go into it. But talking about what is valuable, I'm actually going to bring up some slides from an earlier paid seminar. So here comes your freebie from the seminars these days. And here are 3 things to remember about good embroidery designs. First thing I'm going to tell everybody once again, I think that interaction with clients, I think that interaction makes a massive difference to the success of what we're doing. So for me, good embroidery designs are made in preparation discussion. Number 2, we often judge things by the wrong metric. Thread is not ink. We are never going to be doing 8-point type. Even if we did, most of the time it won't be visible in the context of how it is viewed. Things are seen from the handshake distance. That's what I always used to say, 3 to 4 feet. Now we see them from social distancing, which is 6 feet. If something's not successful at 6 feet on a piece of apparel, it's probably not successful these days. So thread and ink, thread will never be ink, and that's not only okay, it can be desirable because thread has qualities ink doesn't have that we play up. And the third one is huge because it's the thing we've been talking about before. Designs are only good and bad in context. And this comes from one of my talks at Impressions Expo. And like I said, these are things you've probably heard before from me, but I think it's useful to see them again. Let's just talk about this again real briefly. Good is only good in context. So when we're talking about designs, good is good for who? Good designs for us can be very different from what's good for our customers. Something that's good for us as embroiderers and digitizers is something that's easy to digitize, easy to embroider, something that runs quickly and efficiently, doesn't have a lot of wasted movement, doesn't have extra trims or thread breaks or problems, and produces profit. Because ultimately, if we're in the business of selling embroidery to people, then we want profitable embroidery because we want to keep doing what we're doing. And if nothing else, at the base level, if you're someone who just loves the craft, you want to pay for your continued work in the craft. Base level. I like people to make more profit than that and enrich their lives. But let's go from there. Base level, pay for yourself. More than that, produce profit and make yourself available to do more things. The way I've always caught creative people on this is I go, oh, you don't think profit's important? How about you want to add that new toy? You know the one. The new printing thing, the machine that does more, the cutter, the laser. Profit will make that happen. But then I want them to make profit for a lot more than that in business reasons. But I can usually get you because if you're like me, you want the new toy. But here's the thing. Design that's good for customers, it matches their expectations. So we have an angle here. We can help to set their expectations, and that helps. Matches their budget. No one likes to know they're coming in over the original stated budget. So when they have a budget, we try and make sure things work for them. And we can do things in the design phase to make that happen. And the third part is it expresses their message. Generally, people aren't putting a logo on something, an image on something, text on something, unless they're trying to express something about themselves, even if all it is affiliation to a group or a company. It could just be recognition. This item belongs with these people, can be the base level of that. But usually it's more. So what we're trying to do as embroiderers and digitizers is make it good for everyone. That's why we learn technical details of execution. We learn these creative things that we learn. We learn next level digitizing. We learn execution. We learn about specialty materials. We buy software that does things for us that we might not do without. We learn the details of execution to improve our embroidery, and so that we can consult for our clients. And even if we don't digitize, we learn about digitizing so we can talk to digitizers and make things happen, so that we can get our interactions right, so that we know the medium that we work in, so that we can provide solutions. This is like I keep saying over and over. I've quoted myself, as you can see. It's in the slide deck from previously. Be a consultant, not a commodity. If you remember something today, this is probably the thing you should remember. Certainly we can talk, and also the good, that good things are only good in context. But you want to be a consultant, not a commodity. You have to pitch suggestions as helping the client to achieve the best possible results in embroidery because it's true. So when we're talking about good here, we don't have to be forcing our way on someone else so much as we are providing value. We're providing a solution. And the reason we better ourselves to be good embroiderers, we're good in what context? We're good in the fact that we can provide solutions, provide value in any context that includes our medium. Apparel decoration is what I'm talking about. Thing is, this goes for anything we do. We make ourselves good by being consultants that can provide answers to problems no matter where those problems pop up, and by using our chosen tool. For me, it's embroidery. For a lot of us, embroidery, to answer those questions, generally of self-promotion, of identification, affiliation, celebration. The things that we do with mark making, with art, with decoration of clothing. We learn how to do those better so that we can provide solutions no matter what the problem is. If the problem is budget, we learn how to do things less expensively that still have impact. If the problem is impact, if the problem is getting attention, we learn how to do things that get more attention, that look more interesting, that draw the eye. If the problem is communication, we learn how to adjust art so that we can make sure the message, whether it's text or otherwise, is legible from a distance so people can see it. If the problem is durability, we learn what materials will hold up to laundry. We learn what kind of garments we need to use so that they can stand the difficulties that people who are wearing them are going to put them through. And honestly, to help those people do that work. We learn that. What makes good customers for us is that they understand that, and that whatever market we choose to devote the most of our time to, or that we're currently focused on, that those customers fit what we are best able to offer. Because our equipment will change things. If I'm running a bunch of multi-head machines, I need to have orders that are going to have the same design filling out the multiple heads on that machine with regularity. If I run multi-head machines, I need the customer who has those orders. Whether that's through large orders individually from a large scat of customers, or through throughput and turnover, where I'm going to consistently get fairly decently sized orders from individual customers or a smaller base of customers, that doesn't matter as much as the fit for my equipment and the fit for my capabilities. If I'm someone who has a lot of creative skill but doesn't have a lot of production, then what I need is someone who likes that creativity, who doesn't need a ton of pieces, but wants a lot of attention paid to them and is willing to pay for that privilege. That's my good customer. If I'm someone who has multiple sorts of decoration I can do, I need somebody who can take advantage of that, and who can take advantage of the fact that a one-stop shop either provides them more peace of mind because it's all being handled at once and everything matches and everything is done in the same house, or perhaps that they like the turnaround time and don't care that it might cost more to get volume done. The way we are set up, we look for customers who fit that. That's our good customer. The thing is, my good customer isn't necessarily your good customer, isn't necessarily the great customer for contract printers, is not necessarily the good customer for bridal market or the good customer for a gift shop. We need to understand that our setup influences what a good customer is, and that we can change either the way we are set up with our equipment, the way that we are set up to sell, or our policies to address a customer and make sure we are the good fit for them. They become a good customer because of the way we structure our business. So with that, folks, we're going to go ahead and call this. I think we are into bonus time as far as we need to be, and I'm about out of steam for today. We're not going to get the 2-hour marathon today, but I am going to go back over briefly the things that we talked about today, just to put a nail in this one. Let's tack this to the wall and say, well, we have something good that we're working with. If you have more questions, more comments, please come with them, and we can answer these in future episodes. But let's say this: what makes a customer good, folks? Fit. What makes a design good? That it resolves problems for everyone and fits into everybody's chain of production, and it makes everyone happy in the end with what they've received. What makes a product good? It does its job. It does its job both functionally, and for us, we can decorate it. For the customer, it does the job, and it fits in the budget. What makes marketing good? It arrives at the right time, in the right context, in the right place where people are receptive and where they are already looking for those solutions. It hits people when they need it. That makes marketing good, and it has a message that is applicable to them and makes sense to them and is enticing to them. Good is not important as successful, but success depends on defining a success condition. That condition is not the same for everybody. Good is a good fit. Good fit for your company, good fit for a model, good fit for equipment. Context is everything. So what do we need to know? What drives the customer? What is going to change their life? How are we making them the hero? How can we address that and make them the hero of the story, make them able to do what they want to do better? And if we can't make them do that better, make it easier to get there. Make their life simpler, make the process simpler, make them the star of the show, but reduce friction on the way there. All right, folks. So with that, let's go ahead and let that be the end of the Takeup. I hope you guys had a good time here. Certainly, I would love to bring people in. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel, especially on YouTube. Subscribe to that. Turn on the notifications if you want to be notified when I'm on live. If you're on Facebook, keep on following. You'll find it coming through my page as well as my personal profile. And I would love for you to share. If you love what I did today, here's the other thing we have to do is selling. You have to go for the big ask. Here's my big ask. If you love what I did today, share it with someone else in our industry who you think could learn something useful and who you would like to teach. Thank you guys for all being here. I hope you have a great weekend, and I cannot wait to see you again next week. Keep coming with those questions, and we'll have more digitizing and technical content as we come up, but I love doing all this stuff. Keep on asking, and I'll keep answering.